Men, for the next few moments, I need your undivided attention. I need you to fight off sleep, block out thoughts of girlfriends, meeting up with your parents, summer plans, or anything else that will distract you from focusing on this moment and this time and this place. Because the men of the Palmetto Boys State staff, using me as their voice, want to speak to you. We've got something to say. We believe that what we have to say is important, and that through this week, we've earned the right to be heard. You see, men, the finish line is clearly in sight. We're in the home stretch. The time and effort of thousands of man-hours have been consumed. And whether or not it was worth it will be left up to you and to history. Our final remarks to you are quite simple. Do right simply because it's right. Leave America a better place than you found it, for my children and for yours. America needs you now more than ever. The world needs America now more than ever. Several years ago on Legion Night, a Legionnaire sought me out and he said, "I've interviewed candidates this year for the very first time." And as he was telling me this, his voice started to crack and he could barely get it out. But he said, "Boys State has renewed my faith in the youth of America." You see, gentlemen, we're placing all of our hopes for all of our tomorrows in your hands. We hope that your experience at Boys State has given you a new perspective, a new sense of patriotism. We hope that you recognize that freedom comes at a price. But in exercising these God-given freedoms, we ask that you remember these things. Remember to be gentle and kind and compassionate with others. Remember to care for those around you. Look past your differences. The dreams of others are no less than yours. Their choices in life no more easily made. Remember to give. Give in any way you can. Care less about the amount of your harvest than for how it is shared. And your life will have meaning, and your heart will have peace. Remember that patriotism and love of country is not something to be ashamed of. Louis Grizzard, an extremely successful comedian and author who died several years ago, told the story of going to an Atlanta Braves game with his 12-year-old son. After the national anthem was played, his son looked at him and he said, "Dad, it embarrasses me when you sing that song so loudly." Grizzard looked down at him and said, "Son, it embarrasses me when you don't." Remember one of the most important lessons of Boys State. Yep, this week has been about politics and government and leadership, but it's so much more than that. Last Sunday, you arrived on the campus of Anderson University, and you were put in a room with somebody you didn't know. Maybe somebody of a different color. Maybe somebody of a different faith. And probably somebody with different beliefs. And in a city of 50 or so equally different strangers, it took a while. It took a few days, and usually it does. But over the course of that time, something incredible happened. Boy State happened. Without really knowing why at first, you worked together for a cause greater than yourselves. And in the process, this extraordinary and magical process that we call Boy State, you became friends. And by last night, it was more than that. As you met in your cities and reflected and shared and hugged and cried, yes, parents, they cried, you realized you had become more than friends. You were brothers. So what do you do with that? What do you do with this experience that we call Boy State? How do you get ready to cross a finish line that you actually wish you were running away from? How do you wrap up an experience that leaves you speechless when people ask you about it? How do you prepare to leave a place when you feel like it has become part of you? Again, our advice is very simple. You see, what Boy State has taught you would be in vain if you didn't leave this place today and take it with you. Boy State has taught you simple yet profound lessons that you must not leave here. Don't leave the passion of retreat. Don't leave the camaraderie of the brothers in your city. Don't leave the patriotism of Legion Night. Don't leave the responsibility of using your vote to speak to your government. And don't leave the privilege of using your voice to express your ideas. Take it back. Take it back to your homes. Be a better son. Be a better brother. Take it back to your schools. Be a better student. Accept the challenge of leading your peers. Take it back to your community. Get involved. Do something great. Or better yet, do something that matters. Do something that needs to be done and nobody else is stepping up to do it. So as you move from this time and this place and this program, don't forget what you've learned here. You know, we speak a lot this week about sons. Some of us literally and some of us figuratively. I'd like to share with you a prayer that was written by General Douglas MacArthur when he was in the Pacific during World War II. The prayer was written and dedicated to his son, who had been born back in the States and whom he had never seen. I know I speak for the entire Palmetto Boy State staff in that, in a way, you've all been our sons this week. Build me a son, O Lord, who will be strong enough to know when he is weak, and brave enough to face himself when he is afraid. One who will be proud and unbending in honest defeat, and humble and gentle in victory. Build me a son whose wishes will not take the place of his deeds, a son who will know thee, and that to know himself is the foundation stone of knowledge. Lead him, I pray, not in the path of ease and comfort, but under the stress and spur of difficulties and challenges. Here let him learn to stand up in the storm. Here let him learn compassion for those who fail. Build me a son whose heart will be clear, whose goal will be high, a son who will master himself before he seeks to master others, one who will learn to laugh, yet never forget how to cry, one who will reach into the future, yet never forget the past. And after all these things are his, add, I pray, enough of a sense of humor so that he will always be serious, yet never take himself too seriously. Give him humility so that he may always remember the simplicity of true greatness, the open mind of true wisdom, and the meekness of true strength. Then I, his father, will dare to whisper, I have not lived in vain. We hope and trust that our week together has not been in vain. On Sunday night, I challenged you by asking you a simple question. What will your Boy State experience be? I told you it couldn't be inherited and it wouldn't be given to you. I told you that whatever your Boy State experience would be, you were going to have to earn it. In 1998, Steven Spielberg produced a movie starring Tom Hanks and Matt Damon. I'm sure most of you have seen it. I hope so. The movie is Saving Private Ryan. And the plot is very simple. Following the invasion of Normandy in World War II, a group of soldiers led by Tom Hanks' character, U.S. Army Rangers Captain John Miller, go behind enemy lines to rescue and retrieve a paratrooper, Matt Damon's character, Private First Class James Ryan, who's the last surviving brother of 4 servicemen. Captain Miller and his troops offer the ultimate sacrifice to save a man that they don't even know. In the final scene of the movie, as Captain Miller is dying of wounds inflicted while trying to save Private Ryan, barely able to speak, he looks into the eyes of Private Ryan, a man he doesn't know, but was willing to die for. And he whispered 4 words, "Earn this. Earn this." Gentlemen, now that you've earned this week, what does it look like to earn the rest of your life? Let me suggest this. It means to earn a life that honors these sacrifices that have been made for you, and then to sacrifice for others. The men on this staff understand what earn this means, and they've dedicated their lives to living it out. Our prayer is that now you understand, that now you get it. We hope Boy State has taught you to make the most of each moment of your life, to take advantage of every opportunity for achievement and for fun. Mark Twain is credited for saying 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed in the things you didn't do than gratified by the things you did. Guys, it may appear that your Boy State experience is over, and yet it's only beginning. Take the values we've spoken of here: courage, integrity, perseverance, leadership, patriotism, responsibility, brotherhood. Don't just talk about them, live them out. You've shared something that very few get to experience, for you have been initiated into a rare fraternity, the graduates of Palmetto Boy State. And here's the truth. You might be able to tell somebody what you did this week, but you're not going to be able to tell them what this week has done to you. So show them. Make a difference. No excuses, no apologies. Because as far as I'm concerned, and the staff of Palmetto Boy State is concerned, you don't get a pass anymore. You don't get to say, I'm too young to make a difference. You don't get to say, let somebody else do that. When you screw something up, and you will, you don't get to say, I didn't know any better. You don't get to stand by and do nothing while the abused and marginalized in our society are taken advantage of. Because if Boy State happened to you this week, then you know what to do. You stand up for what you know to be right, even when those around you won't. Don't simply do your best, but succeed in doing what is necessary. Work just as hard, maybe even harder, at the things that you don't like as the things that you do. Honor and respect those who have made sacrifices for you, especially your parents. Now, I'd like to speak to the parents for just a minute. I want to warn you about something. Your sons will most likely become frustrated trying to explain this week to you. I'm going to encourage you to be patient with them and simply look for the change. It'll be there. Because parents, last Sunday, if you dropped off a boy, we believe that today you're picking up a man. You see, parents, you're picking up a man who has found his voice and hopefully found the leader inside himself. A man who doesn't take for granted the sacrifices made by those who have come before him. A man who understands that it's better to fail at something that matters than to succeed at something that doesn't. This isn't in my script, but I'm going to take a director's privilege for just a second. Parents, the staff received a letter on Monday. It was simply addressed to the leaders and staff of Palmetto Boy State. And I think that it describes for us what we hope that you will believe after you have picked up your son and after you've gotten home with him. It's from a mom whose boys don't have a dad. And I want to read just an excerpt from the letter. As a mom who was widowed while my 3 sons were very young, it has been the deepest pain of my life to watch my sons grow up without the influence of a godly, strong father. It's also been the deepest gratitude of my heart when any man pours into one of my sons and encourages them. What most men don't see, parents, I want you to hear this. What most men and women don't see is the hunger in my sons' hearts for encouragement, acceptance, and acknowledgement from men. As a mom, I am painfully aware of it. About 3 months after my first son of 3 attended Boys State, I saw a giant leap forward in his maturing as a young man. He suddenly began to step up to the plate as a man in our family. I was in awe. With my second son, the change was even quicker. I don't know what you teach them, but they seem to understand that men have an important role as leaders to fulfill and realize that they want to walk in that role. This lesson can't be taught by a mom, and even though I've attempted to teach them about being a man, it's a lesson that needs to come from other men. Thank you for modeling and teaching that to them. My prayer for this week is that Palmetto Boys State staff and the counselors in your cities have modeled for you what it means to be a man, and that when you go home, you will show your parents and your teachers and anybody that you come in contact what you've learned here at Boys State. And now for you, Boys State. As I reflect on this week, it is extremely difficult for me to believe that 38 years ago I was sitting where you're sitting. I can honestly say that Palmetto Boys State has touched my life in a way that most other men, other than Palmetto Boys State graduates and staff, have ever experienced. And if experience is the best of teachers, then I'm among the best taught. If friends give a man his happiness, then my life is happier than most. If time well spent leads to riches, then my life is lined with pure gold. For the privilege of serving as your director has given me pleasure beyond belief. Truly among men, I am most richly blessed. Thank you for participating in this Palmetto Boys State. I wish you a safe trip home and pray that the memories of this week will never fade. Godspeed, God bless you, and God bless America. Gentlemen, sir, we are. We are.